was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, and every common sight on earth to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream. It is not now as it hath been of yore, turn where'er soe'er I may. By night or day, the things that I have seen, I now can see no more. The rainbow comes and goes, and lovely is the rose. The moon doth with delight look round her when the heavens are bare. Water on a starry night is beautiful and fair. The sunshine is a glorious birth, but yet I know where'er I go, there hath passed away a glory from the earth. Where did we all go so horribly wrong? How did we get off the path between us and the present moment? That wonderful moment. I've entitled my talk today, Pockets of Wonder, because I believe that we don't have pockets big enough to hold all of this wonder that we see everywhere around us. The relationships, the music, the ideas. My goal here today is to help you reimagine what wonder is really all about and what it actually might be able to lead us to. So I'm actually looking for some responsibility. I want to know where things got onto the wrong path. Two roads diverged in the middle of the night. I'm not even sure we're on either of those two roads. That's an odd thought that's going to wake you up later tonight. How did we get knocked off the path? Can we blame the pre-Socratics? Maybe we should go after the Stoic theologians of the time and go after them, and perhaps they had something to do with this idea, or maybe we should just blame the Greeks. Plato, his idea of universal truth out there somewhere, and if we think about it enough, and if we get to a certain place, we'll be able to rationally understand it, become a philosopher king, and we're there. What else? Move up about 1900 years into modern history, into the scientific modern period, the Enlightenment project, and we find René Descartes writing a couple of very influential and important books, The Discourse on Method, The Meditations. And what does he say there? He says, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Is it possible that Descartes' rationalism, his desire to bring everything down to a radical doubt and start over, had something to do with this radical spiral downwards that led us away from me being present here right now and the moment in front of me? Maybe, just maybe, it had something to do with that mind-body dualism split. It seems to me that we're so often hypnotized by logic. We are all, for the most part, lean towards quantification. We're interested in the answer. We're interested in the solution. Maybe 2 + 2 doesn't actually equal 5. Is that even possible? 2 + 2 might actually equal 5. Now there's an interesting thought. What is it that got in the way that is going to allow us to resonate between now and the next moment? A few years ago, I had the privilege of heading to Cambodia for the first time. I've been there many times since, doing a lot of work in development and working in water and sanitation and HIV/AIDS and various different projects. And I came on this community coming down the Mekong River in a small metal boat, and I had fire ants all around me, and my nylon pants were hiked up around my knees, hoping not to be eaten alive by these little bugs, and believe me, these critters can bite. And I came out of the boat, and I came up the muddy embankment, and I walked up onto the embankment, the landing. In this community, the Lavia M district, about 45 kilometers out of Phnom Penh, and there, what did I see but a busted, broken, rusted out well that was not providing clean water. It certainly wasn't providing any water at all. It had been installed in 1997, and it was no longer working. This was about 2005. And as we continued to walk through the community and visit with families, 85,000 people living here, 14,000 families on about 65 cents a day. That's extreme poverty, according to the World Bank. What do we find? More rusted out wells. Came on about a dozen altogether by the time we were done. And finally, I asked the director, Romania, what's up? What's going on with the clean water in this district? And you're not going to believe what he had to say. 1,000 miles away, Chinese industry was dumping waste into the water, and the arsenic was making its way down the river and polluting the water table. Who could have ever known that that was going to happen, that that was going to actually affect the way these wells worked, the assumptions that were made, the questions that weren't asked? What I'm suggesting is if this NGO had resonated a little bit more with their needs assessment, if they had stayed focused and in the moment for just a little longer, maybe a few more questions would have come to the surface and they would have avoided this problem. They're certainly going to avoid it now, and that is the basis of a needs assessment. It's about asking good questions. And you see, I believe that wonder leads to questions. I believe that questions leads to understanding, and I believe that understanding leads to revelation. Wonder leads to questions. Questions lead to understanding, and understanding leads to revelation. Who ever said that there were only 5 senses? The sense of wonder, that is our 6th sense. Try saying that fast a few times in a row. A few years ago, my son, he was about 1, so that would be about 6 years ago, was playing on the ground, the floor of our living room. And he was looking for something in a basket and tossing things out of the basket, one by one. And out of my peripheral vision, I could see that there were little dolls and stuffed animals and balls and pieces of wood and puzzles and things that were kind of flying all over the floor. It looked like a small Toys R Us was exploding in our living room. And I had no idea what he was after. I thought he'd found something kind of shiny at the bottom of the basket. I thought maybe there was a penny, or maybe there was a piece of glass or a piece of plastic that was catching the light in an oh-so-particular way, and that he had picked it up, and that's what he was after. Do you know what he was after, folks? There was a small piece of lint at the bottom of the basket that Spencer wanted. Don't ask me why. He was after the lint. It's the classic. You buy all the toys for Christmas, and what do they end up playing with? The box. He was after the lint because I believe he was actually in the moment. Sliced bread never stood a chance. Robert Oppenheimer says that there are children playing on the street, and I think this is what's so important about this quote. They're playing on the street who can solve some of my top problems in physics because they have modes of sensory perception that I lost a long time ago. That's wild. We know who Oppenheimer is, right? Kind of had a serious impact on the world as we see it today. Modes of sensory perception that I lost a long time ago. Whoever said there was only 6 senses, or 5 senses? And so what I think that Oppenheimer has tapped into here is that children have the ability to resonate. They have the ability to stay with the moment in a way that we as adults don't. They're not interested in religion. They're not interested in nationality. They're not interested in the way we are in quantification. And so what do? They play. They play. They resonate in the moment. And what happens as we grow up and the innocence of our childhood is stained by the education of our youth? What happens? We judge, we critique, we analyze, we measure, we photograph, we graph, and things change. You see, I believe that answers and frameworks and structure actually take us away from our ability to wonder. And it's in that area, and it's in that arena where I believe that true discovery takes place. Wouldn't it be incredible if there were boardrooms around the country where high-level corporate men and women were sitting there resonating with an idea, and they were so excited about it and they were so engaged that they wouldn't leave the boardroom because they had to pee? We've all got children here. Most of us have an experience of children and getting that dance. Spencer, Victoria, do you need to go to the washroom? No, I'm okay. I'm all right. No, I'm good. Yeah, are you sure about that? Yeah, a couple more minutes pass and they're still doing this. They go for their body in some particular way and shape and form, and all of a sudden, off they go to the washroom. Wouldn't that be remarkable? Think about what might be next if we had the ability to resonate with the moment in that kind of a way. A friend of mine says to me recently, he says, I'm finally figuring out how to become a child again. And I'm not going back to being an adult anytime soon. I know exactly what he means. I know exactly what he means. It's a pencil. Maybe HB? Fairly sharp. Is it mightier than the sword? I'm not sure. Perhaps it was in one time many years ago. How many of you see a pair of chopsticks if you had two of them? Or maybe a ruler, or a measuring stick, or a bookmark? Or how about if you were to crack off the edge, the end of the eraser, and you had lost the stud on the back of your earring, you could pop it onto your earring and keep it there in place. Or maybe if you keep the eraser on the pencil, you might be able to actually take a little bit of wax out of your ear, or possibly a little bit of dirt out of your shoe. One of my favorites, if you shave it with a knife, you've got a little bit of kindling to start a fire. Back scratcher, and one of my personal faves as well, a magic wand. It's about change, it's about possibility, it's about opportunity. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to be a part of a television show called Spells. We made 52 episodes here in Canada. It's been translated into half a dozen languages. I still get the odd residual check every now and then, and believe me, folks, there's virtually no money in Canadian television. Welcome to Canada. It's a sad reality, but we have a show that we're fairly proud of. But I want you to look at this because, believe it or not, I think that part of what we're doing here is we're talking about something that's present and right now. You see, so many of us stand on one side of the river looking over to the other side. Here, well situated in the past, foundation, Descartes, we've got it all together. And what are we looking at? We're looking at the other side. What's that? The what's next. The not yet, the future, the nefarious to-do list. And meanwhile, I believe there's more going on than meets the eye, because I believe all of us are standing in the middle of the river, and we don't even know it. Like Poe's purloined letter, it's hanging there right in front of our faces, and we can't even see it. Because you see, Descartes and Plato believed it was an act of cognition. It was about thinking things. I believe it's about an act of recognition. It's about what Picasso talked about. It's hard to stay an artist. Every child's an artist, Picasso said. It's hard to stay as an artist. Look at this photo a little more closely. You'll see the picture that the folks will see at home. Bottom right, that's the monitor. If you look up a little bit to the top of that, that's Mike, who's actually in the red t-shirt. He's the DOP on the set. And if you look a little bit above him, there's some lighting and a bit of scaffolding, and behind him is a white screen. And to your left on the screen is Ron. He's the director. Those are his glasses sitting on top of the script, and that's my bottle of water. I'm sitting right beside Ron. Beside me is the executive producer, Hoda El-Atawi, and behind her is about a crew of about 11. We've got makeup and staging people and theater and tech and props and so on, and the list goes on. There's more going on here than meets the eye. If you look closely at the table, it's really interesting. Not only is it set up on 2 levels of staging, it's also been jacked up so you'll get an interesting image at home. More going on than meets the eye. Russell Burbank was a bit of a partier. And Luther Burbank was a bit of a partier. And what he did was he invited Thomas and Edison over and a group of people over to his house for a party. And he had a guest book. And in the guest book, he had a line where it said, guests and interests. And do you know what Thomas Edison wrote in the sign that said, interests? You know what Thomas Edison wrote in the line that said interests? He wrote everything. He wrote everything. There's no such thing as an uninteresting subject, only disinterested people. Not my line, G.K. Chesterton. There's over 1,327 opening moves according to the Oxford Companion to Chess. 1,327 opening moves. Apparently, adults laugh about 20 times a day, according to some psychologists. Kids, about 300. 7 wonders of the world? Really? Are you kidding me? How about 7 million? By the way, Cambodia, my favorite place in the world, is called the Kingdom of Wonder. Martin Luther, a little bit of a lofty, gifted in hyperbole kind of guy, said, if I could understand 1 grain of wheat, I would die from wonder. I think we can take the lesson, I hope, to heart. If I could understand 1 grain of wheat, I would die from wonder. Think about for a moment, as we reflect on this and as I come to a close and to a conclusion, the impact that each and every one of you are already having. Get out of the framework. Get out of the structure. Get out of the box and see where it might lead to you in the most simplest possible way. The next hand that you shake, the next eye that you make contact with, the next smile that you connect with, tell me this isn't like a rock dropping into that river of life that we're all already standing in. Not cognition, but recognition. Reimagining. It's a recognition of that life that's already there. Plop, plop, plop. The splash and ripple effect is significant. Long-term impact comes via the little things. Beware of the mechanistic universe that we find ourselves in. Beware of the structure. Beware of that framework. It will hold you back, and it's something that I call rational mediation. It's like Brecht's 4th wall. We've added a 5th brick or a 5th wall. It's getting in the way between us and the other, us and the relationship, us and the experience. And that for me is not only deeply troubling, I find it also deeply, deeply problematic. There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream and every common sight on earth to me did seem apparelled in celestial light. Thank you very much for listening.